Everyone gets this wrong about empaths, and that mistake changes how they see someone who has finally healed. People think healed empaths become cold, that they stop caring, that they shut people out. It looks that way from the outside. The warmth seems quieter, the availability seems smaller, the reactions seem different, so people assume the heart has changed. But that is not the truth. They do not become cold, they become something most people never take the time to understand. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. There is a hidden shift that happens when an empath heals. It is subtle, yet powerful. It is the difference between feeling everything and choosing what to carry. Many people miss this transformation because they are used to the old version, the one who always said yes, the one who stayed too long, the one who gave without limits. When that version fades, it creates confusion. It even creates distance. But that distance is not emptiness, it is awareness, it is control, it is strength built through emotional experience that most people never fully face. In this video, you will learn what truly changes inside an empath during healing. You will understand why their energy feels different, why their reactions shift, and why they no longer tolerate what they once accepted. You will see the deeper truth behind their silence, their boundaries, and their calm presence. There are lesser-known psychological patterns behind this transformation, patterns that explain why healed empaths often lose connections while gaining clarity. This is where perception and reality separate. By the end, you will understand that this change is not about losing empathy, it is about refining it. It is about turning emotional depth into something stable and powerful instead of overwhelming and draining. You will also begin to recognize these signs in yourself or in someone close to you. That awareness can change how you approach relationships, respect boundaries, and understand emotional strength in a completely new way. Stay with this video until the end because the final insight will connect everything in a way that shifts your perspective instantly. It will explain why what feels like loss is often growth, and why what looks like distance is actually self-respect in its purest form. Welcome to our channel, where we break down human behavior, emotional patterns, and the hidden truths behind personal transformation. If this kind of content speaks to you, make sure to subscribe and become part of a community that values clarity, depth, and real understanding. Before they heal, empaths give too much in ways that feel natural to them. They step into conversations and become the quiet support system without being asked. They listen closely, picking up on tones, pauses, and emotions that others barely notice. It goes deeper than simple understanding. They absorb what is around them. Someone else's stress starts to feel like their own. Someone else's sadness lingers in their chest long after the moment has passed. They carry emotions that never belonged to them in the first place, yet they treat them as if they do. It becomes a silent habit, almost automatic, like breathing. In their relationships, this pattern grows stronger. They say yes when they want to say no, convincing themselves that it is kindness. They agree to things that drain their energy, hoping it will keep peace or make someone feel better. There is a quiet pressure inside them to be the one who understands, the one who holds everything together. They stay longer than they should, even when something feels off, even when the connection starts to take more than it gives. Walking away feels heavy, so they remain present, hoping things will shift back to something lighter. Over time, the line between care and sacrifice starts to blur. They begin to confuse love with self-sacrifice, believing that giving more will fix what feels broken. They offer their time, their attention, and their emotional energy without limits. It becomes difficult to tell where their feelings end and someone else's begin. They adapt themselves to fit what others need, slowly reshaping who they are in the process. It is subtle at first, almost invisible, but it builds quietly beneath the surface. As this continues, something inside them starts to fade. The space they once had for their own thoughts, their own needs, begins to shrink. They become used to carrying weight that was never theirs to hold, and slowly, without realizing it, they lose themselves trying to keep others whole. But something changes, and it does not happen all at once. It builds quietly through moments that start to feel heavier than before. The same situations that once felt manageable begin to feel overwhelming. Conversations leave a deeper weight. Small disappointments linger longer. There is a shift that is hard to explain, yet impossible to ignore. They get tired, not physically, but emotionally. It is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It sits in their thoughts, in their chest, in the way they respond to the world around them. They begin to notice patterns that were once easy to overlook: the constant giving, the lack of balance, the way they always seem to be the one holding everything together while others simply take. It becomes harder to justify, harder to ignore. There is a growing awareness that something is off, that something has been off for a long time. The effort they put into people and relationships no longer feels fulfilling. It feels draining. It feels one-sided. And that realization starts to settle in slowly, piece by piece. At some point, a deeper truth surfaces. They realize no one is coming to save them. No one is going to step in and protect their energy the way they have been protecting everyone else's. That responsibility has always been theirs, even when they avoided seeing it. This awareness does not come with comfort. It comes with a quiet kind of clarity that forces them to look at their own role in everything they have been experiencing. Then another realization follows close behind. The way they have been loving is hurting them. The constant availability, the emotional absorption, the endless understanding without boundaries, it has come at a cost, a personal cost that has been building over time. What once felt like strength begins to feel like something that needs to change, and in that moment, something inside them starts to shift. That is where healing begins. From the outside, it looks like they changed in a way that feels sudden to others. The same person who once responded quickly now takes their time. The one who used to say yes without hesitation now pauses, sometimes even declines. Their energy feels different, quieter, more contained. It creates a sense of distance that was never there before. People begin to notice these shifts and try to make sense of them using what they understand. They compare the present version to the past and see a contrast that feels uncomfortable. That is when the comments begin. People say you are different now, with a tone that carries confusion, sometimes even disappointment. They remember the version of the empath who was always available, always accommodating, always ready to absorb whatever came their way. That version felt easy to be around because it required less adjustment from others. When that dynamic changes, it disrupts expectations. It challenges the roles that were silently accepted for so long. In that space of confusion, a conclusion starts to form. They think the empath became cold. It seems like care has faded, like warmth has been replaced with distance. The reduced reactions, the calmer responses, the clearer boundaries all begin to look like emotional withdrawal. From the outside, it appears as if something has been lost. The depth that once felt so visible now feels hidden, almost absent. There is a pause in how others process this change, a moment where they try to understand it through their own perspective. They see less access and assume less feeling. They see fewer sacrifices and assume less love. The shift is real, but the interpretation often misses what is actually happening beneath the surface. The empath has not lost their ability to care. They have not disconnected from emotion. What has changed runs deeper than behavior. It sits in how they choose, how they respond, and how they protect what they once gave away so freely. But what really changed is this: what they become instead begins to show in small, consistent ways. They become more selective with their presence, and it changes how they move through relationships. They stop giving everyone access to their time and attention. There is a quiet filter now, one that was never there before. Not everyone gets the same level of closeness. Not everyone gets the same emotional investment. It is no longer automatic, it is intentional. They start to notice who respects their energy and who drains it, and that awareness shapes their choices. Because they finally understand something that used to be unclear. Access is earned, not given, and that understanding shifts everything about how they show up. Along with that selectiveness comes a stronger sense of boundaries. They start saying no, and the word feels different now. It does not come with the same hesitation or guilt that used to follow it. It feels steady, it feels right. They no longer feel the need to explain themselves in long, detailed ways just to be understood. They begin to walk away from things that drain them, even when it feels uncomfortable at first. There is a growing respect for their own limits, something that was often ignored in the past. This change can look distant to others, but the intention behind it is clear. It is not because they do not care, it is because they have started to care about themselves too. At the same time, their emotional world becomes clearer. They stop absorbing everything around them without question. There is a separation now between what they feel and what belongs to someone else. They learn to pause and identify what is actually theirs to carry. This awareness creates space inside them that once felt crowded and overwhelming. They still feel deeply. That part of them remains, but it no longer consumes them in the same way. The emotions pass through instead of taking over. They experience without losing control. This leads to a kind of strength that does not need to be loud. They do not feel the need to prove anything to anyone anymore. Validation becomes less important because their sense of self no longer depends on how others respond. They become calm in situations that once unsettled them, grounded in a way that feels steady and consistent. Their silence begins to carry a different meaning. It is no longer about withdrawal or avoidance. Their silence is not distance. It is stability. The way this change is seen begins to shift when the surface is no longer the only thing being considered. A healed empath does not become cold, even though it may appear that way at first glance. What actually happens is a movement toward clarity. Their actions start to come from a place of understanding rather than reaction. The confusion that once guided their choices slowly fades, replaced by a steady awareness of what feels right and what does not. This clarity changes how they respond to people, how they handle emotions, and how they protect their energy without losing their depth. They do not stop loving, and that part of them remains just as strong as before. The difference is in how that love is expressed and where it is placed. It is no longer scattered across every situation or person that demands it. It becomes focused, intentional, and grounded. They begin to recognize that love should not come at the cost of losing themselves. The pattern of putting others first at all times starts to break, and in its place grows a healthier balance. They still care deeply, but that care now includes themselves in a way it never did before. There is also a shift in how they handle emotional connections. They no longer feel responsible for fixing everything or carrying what others refuse to face. The urge to step in and take on that role begins to fade. In its place is a quieter approach, one that allows others to hold their own experiences without interference. This does not mean detachment from emotion, but rather a deeper respect for emotional boundaries. Their presence becomes more stable because it is no longer stretched thin across situations that drain them. What looks like distance from the outside often comes from this new sense of balance. The space they create is not meant to push people away, even if it feels that way to those who were used to constant access. It is a form of self-respect that was missing before. That space allows them to stay connected without losing their center. It allows them to engage without feeling overwhelmed. The difference is subtle, yet it changes everything about how they exist within their relationships and within themselves. And what feels like loss begins to take on a different meaning when seen through this lens. Connections that once felt essential start to fall away, and at first it can feel heavy, almost confusing. But over time, a deeper pattern becomes clear. The space that is created is not empty. It is intentional. It allows the right connections to exist without pressure, without imbalance. What feels like loss is actually alignment, a quiet shift toward relationships that match the energy they now carry. Because real connection does not drain you or leave you questioning your worth. It does not demand constant sacrifice or silence your needs. It expands you, it supports your growth while allowing you to remain whole. It brings a sense of ease that does not need to be forced or maintained through effort alone. This is the difference that becomes impossible to ignore once it is experienced. The contrast between what once felt normal and what now feels right becomes stronger with time. And once an empath learns that, once they truly understand the value of their energy and the importance of where it goes, there is no desire to return to old patterns. The awareness stays with them. The clarity becomes part of how they move through every interaction. It shapes their choices in ways that feel natural and steady without the need for constant adjustment. Have you ever felt this shift in your life, like you are becoming someone others do not fully recognize anymore? A version of yourself that feels more grounded, more aware, yet somehow harder for others to understand? Let me know in the comments because your experience might help someone else see their own journey more clearly. And if this spoke to you, if you found yourself somewhere in these words, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.